So just ignore this because of the fact that I'm just going to a Renaissance fair later and it has nothing to do with the topic at hand. But there is a fracture emerging in secular conservatism, political conservatism, over the subject of masculinity. Masculinity has been something of an enigma, a challenge, a frustration for all sectors of society for the past probably about 20 years. There's this weird mixture in society of knowing there's certain things that men only have interest in or willingness to do that our society literally runs on. Things like pulling petroleum out of the ground and refining resource materials and such like that. Only men have interest in it. Only men seem to have, in general, a desire to perform these tasks, a willingness to perform these tasks, and overwhelmingly, they are not doing so. And sometimes referred to as a skills gap, sometimes referred to as a labor deficit. It's become an issue of national concern in matters of that just skilled tradesmen are at an all-time low. And what's interesting about some of these things is that they are extraordinarily well-paying. It's not that there isn't a reward in it. And as well, at the end of the day, there tends to be a actual produced progress to it, that you're building a building or you're constructing a submarine or you're doing something tangible that there's measurable progress on by the end of the day. It shows, it has a lot of those tick boxes as far as what makes a field or an occupation supposedly fulfilling, and yet overwhelmingly they're not having any success, more or less, in as far as recruitment. And it's caused politicians and labor motivators and statisticians and sociologists to just be pulling their hair out as to what is the cause of this. But the point of real fracture that I'm talking about here is only sort of connected to that. The reason I bring it up is it's one of the things that's often cited as indicative of this other thing, or it's related to this other thing, but no one knows what to do with it. And this fracture that's emerging in conservatism, and I'm specifically talking about a fracture that's occurring there on account of the fact that this is something that secular conservatism, political conservatism, has mostly been in agreement about for pretty much the entire existence of it, going all the way back to when it was referred to as a progressive party under Theodore Roosevelt. And that is, you just need to suck it up and get to work. That's just the summary of it. Theodore Roosevelt gave a whole speech about it in Chicago called The Strenuous Life. And it's this, that life is not worth living unless you are undergoing hardship for the pursuit of desires, of the hardship, of the facing of difficult circumstances for the purpose of protecting and for providing for those that you care about, and so that you can make a better world for the people around you, that you can build a better community. And where this fracture is occurring, as I can see it, is in conservatism is a matter of two things that I'm going to highlight. The first of which is blame, and the second of which is gender dialogue. The first aspect of this fracture, this fissure, this fault line that's emerging is over who's to blame for these labor deficits, these skill and trade deficits, for these this lack of interest, of investment of young men, specifically what they'll sometimes refer to as fighting age men in society. They aren't voting, they aren't going to work, they're not going to school, they're the whole, like, they're living in their mama's basement kind of stereotype of men. And the spokesman kind of on this one side that's developed, the vocalist on this one side of it that's kind of emerged is Tommy Lauren, who has been a conservative mainstream for a very long time. Used to have a whole show and segment for where she pretty much would preach to the choir on Fox News about this specific thing. She hasn't changed her note really at all, as far as I can tell, in terms of that it's about men need to just suck it up, go to work, like this thing. And this was when you'd say like the progressive side, the liberal or the leftist side was in power. This was choir music for Fox News. Like, I mean, this was as mainstream as it could possibly get. But something has changed. On the other side, I've heard various people speaking, specifically responding to her, using clips and clip dialogue and things like that from her. On this side being Steven Crowder, and I've even heard Matt Walsh and just various people, Charlie Kirk even, talking about this same thing, and yet the dialogue has been shouting her down, essentially. It's been contradicting it. And it's something that I would never have expected if you would have given me, if you would have asked me about it, I don't know, 5, 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, because the two sides of this were in complete unified agreement about this stuff. There are plenty of sourceable clips of Steven Crowder, of Matt Walsh, of Charlie Kirk, saying the exact same things, not years ago, but weeks ago, about men just need to get to work, that they just need to show up at a job site and ask how they can help, and things like just telling them the narrative that was considered pull yourself up by your own bootstraps type dialogue. So what is it that changed here that caused this fracture between a group that seemed to be almost completely unified in every subject? And like I said earlier, the issue here is blame and genderized dialogue. Blame is never the solution to anything. And that, unfortunately, in terms of politics, in terms of secularized society, blame is the default response to everything. That if something's going wrong in the current administration, it's because they're dealing with the ripple effects of policies in the previous generation, and that, or something of that. If the executive branch is getting hammered on something, they're just going to say, well, it's the legislative's fault, or that they're going to say the judiciary is out of control legislating from the bench, or just it's the communists, it's the leftists, they're just constantly blaming. And that is actually the subject that we're talking about here. Tommy Lauren gets on, and this is the thing that's actually changed in dialogue. Even though the talking points are almost identical to what they were, the subject has slightly shifted, that in Tommy Lauren's own words, that there are single young women that are wanting to be married and wanting to have kids and wanting to live the conservative, you might say trad wife if you want to be buzzwordy about it, the trad existence that has been the bedrock of American culture for generations. They want to do that, but they can't find an eligible man who can provide for them in the way that they would need to in order to live that life. They're living in their mom's basement, and that they're spending their whole days playing video games, and like just living that, like just they're using the same talking points, but they're saying it's the men's fault that these women are dissatisfied with their existence because the men are not stepping up and providing for them. And this is the point where they're beginning to disagree, where you have the Steven Crowders coming in and saying that, well, if the mothers wouldn't overmother their kids when they're young, or that what about the single father or the single mothers that they don't even have a father to show these men how to be men, and things like it's a passing of the buck in every point. The women are dissatisfied because the men they know are underachieving and underperforming. The men are underperforming because of the fact that the women around them won't give them the share of attention they need to be motivated, or that they've been given too much attention already by the maternal figures in their life and the maternal institutions that they were raised in, and that just they haven't been given enough healthy male attention in their formative years because of the government trying to over-parent single-parent households, and just like it's a passing of the buck that just creates a lot of noise. It gets a lot of clicks. It gets a lot of viewer minutes, but it doesn't solve anyone's problems. And like everything, there's aspects of truth to be found everywhere. That yes, a lot of the things that we're seeing are the fruit of the vines we planted. Mike Rowe has this thing where he says that the snowflakes fell from, or that we are the clouds that the snowflakes fell from. A lot of these things were started at a headwaters that is well back in the past. The waters flowed down to us in the present, and now we're trying to drink from it, and we're finding out that it's poisoned. So what do? Well, first of all, I would say is that berating, insulting, and deriding anyone has never motivated them. It just, you go back to any sports team anyone's ever played on, that yes, there's a point where you have to be hard on someone to drive them past their own inhibitions. That is somewhat true, but there has to be an established relational hierarchy and understanding of why that's happening. In order for it to be successful, you have to be a recognized authoritative figure, a coach, a parent, a teacher. You also have to have an established relational dynamic to them of that, and an established belief in the person being pushed, that you're not going to abandon them if they fail in the territory of that they think that they won't succeed, that you're not going to abandon them, that you're not going to give up on them. And a person talking to you on a screen is not going to be able to convey that kind of secure relationship dynamic plus a disciplinary structure wherein that you'll be able to actually correct areas of failure so that they can actually succeed. Jimmy Carr has a dialogue on this very thing of that. Why is it that young men, fighting age men, career age men are spending so much time playing video games instead of going to work or instead of going to school? And it's an analogy for career that they aren't having success in. that if you play video games, this is actually true in like neurodivergence as well, why a child will spend so much time with their tablet instead of reading books, because of the fact that there's measurable progress from the video games. That if you go through Skyrim for the 7th time, over time, it'll actually give you rewards for continued successful progress, that you will level up your attributes simply by performing them. Same thing in Fallout, same thing in even the ones that are seemingly counterintuitive, like Dark Souls, that are so like difficult to the point of no longer being fun for some, that at least it shows I started here, and by the end of a 4-hour session, you've reached here. You've gotten to the end of the level. You've beaten that boss you didn't think that you could. Like, there's a measurable level of progress afforded to you as a compensation for your effort and investment in the thing. A lot of career, it's not as measurable that way. A lot of academics, like especially with the way that the academic systems are designed, you're going to do a lot of classes, a lot of coursework that is completely irrelevant to your realm of study, simply because it's part of the degree path some bureaucrat decided that you needed, even if you don't actually need it. A lot of these systems are designed to make someone else rich at your expense, especially people in politics and in the bureaucracy and in the dean's offices and so forth. It's designed to make other people that are not you successful, and it makes it very difficult to see past that and desire to participate. So what do you do in that instance? The answer to that question is, if you are wanting something outside of it, you'll endure it anyways. That most people that I know that are blue collar, not the online ideological blue collar, but actually go to blue collar jobs, have no interest in actually what their tangible work is. Pulling wires or laying pipe or just whatever it is they happen to do. Just that's what they do, so that in the evenings they're at home with their family. So that on the weekends they take their families on vacation, or that 2 weeks out of the year they're able to go to Disney, or they're whatever the thing is. Like the thing that motivates them is that if I'm here from 9 to 5 every day, I get to be home and have the resources I need to enjoy being at home with the people that I love, care about. And that's where the other bind here is, that most of these men, fighting age, working age, career age men, they don't have significant connections relationally like that at the same age that their parents would have. Like, I got married at 23 years old, and that's even statistically late. Most people are getting married earlier than that, statistically, although that's changing because statistics are reflective, not projective. But when we're talking about men in their 30s that haven't had a single stable ongoing relationship with a female in the past year, they don't have an external motivation to sow in the seeds into their life that will make their external life successful. And also, career is not super fulfilling, so they don't want to pursue that either. The paths that are open to them, or would have been open to them, as well as the reward matrix of past generations, simply aren't there. And as a result, they're discouraged, they're disillusioned, and if they were totally honest, they're disappointed with themselves. So what's the solution here? Here's what I would suggest. Number one, you need to go to church. And this is something that is, if you only have like a part-time job at the moment, or if you don't have a job at all at the moment, it's the easiest obstacle to overcome. Go to church this Sunday. Why should you do that? Well, the first reason is social connectivity is the grease on the rails in society. In fact, during the 50s, 60s, during that generation, during the Christian era, if you want to call it, which is not even true, but of that people deride now, the June Cleaver generation, the Brady Bunch generation, as far as television is concerned, everybody went to church. And they did this for two reasons. The first was religious and political, connected. Don't have time to go into that. I think you already understand. The second was the social connectivity. Most churches up until like 5 minutes ago would have potlucks and other similar social activities in their meeting halls after services or prior to services. And this is when the community would gather and they would connect resource-wise. You would be able to meet upstanding members of the society, the ruling elite, because every politician went to church, but also the local business owners, the people that ran the shops and the gas stations and the other actual commercial interests of the community. And so you would meet them, and the reality is, it is never what you know about any key subject. It's never what you know. It is always who you know, because the people that know you, care about you, and are invested in your personal success will give you opportunities and help you succeed in them. And so if you're a teenager back then and you're going to church on a regular basis, and you know the local grocer, the one that operates the local corner store, you get to be 16 years old and now you're old enough to work, you can simply ask that guy to hire you. And this is during a generation when literally he can just shake your hand and tell you to show up. And here's the thing. Most blue-collar jobs still work like that. They may post things online to say that they want a 3-year tradesman through Indeed, and you apply for it that way, you're going to be rejected. But if you were to just call a local wire puller, an electrician, or just anything like that, a local pipe fitter in town, a local HVAC guy here in town, and say, I'm Seymour Butts, and I have lots of free time on my hands, and I'm willing to work for $12 an hour to be able to do whatever it is that you need done so that you can do your job more efficiently. I guarantee you 2, maybe 4 of those calls, you'll have somebody that says, sure, meet me here, or I'll pick you up, or meet me at my house, or, whatever, and you'll have a job. It might be Form 1099 rather than W-2. It might be cash only, but you'll have a job. And then just see where it goes. It might not work out the way that, it might not turn into a 40-year career. But I guarantee you, at first, it's going to start off with you just go back to the truck and get this tool and bring it to me. It's going to be a lot of that. It's going to be a lot of grab a broom and sweep this area. It's going to be a lot of, see that mud hole? I need it to be a water hole. Or see that shovel? I need a 6 foot by 6 foot by 6 foot pit in this specific area. It might be a lot of, it's going to be a lot of that kind of stuff. It's going to be wet. It's going to be cold. It's going to be muddy. It's going to be messy. At first, crawling through the subfloor or in the attic, it's going to be a lot of that. But if you do your time on the short term, earn that guy's trust, pay attention when he's telling you what to do, you'll learn the minimum of what you need to so that you can turn that into an electrical certification or a tradesman position that it can make a lot of money, 30s, 40s, 60s dollars an hour. But you have to be patient. You have to be willing to just eat the crap sandwich on the short term with a vision of, I'm saving money so that I can afford the certifications, and then I'm saving money so I can get my own rig and I can start doing this for myself, or I'm saving money, and being responsible and being patient and being careful and attentive. And you can turn that into something that is really successful someday. That's what Theodore Roosevelt was talking about when he was giving that speech called The Strenuous Life. Look it up. I would highly encourage you to do so. He was a very motivational speaker. You're going to want to charge into the enemy's front lines after hearing it, I guarantee you. But the thing is, that's what he was talking about, of a willingness to endure pain and discomfort now with a vision of something greater to be produced by it. So that's the first thing. Go to church, get connected with someone locally, a lot of people locally that can help you, that can support you. That's what I'm saying. First thing, go to church this Sunday, sit in the pews or in the row of chairs, and then just keep that habit alone up. And that's going to change a lot of things about your life. And now, it might sound, for my regular audience, am I saying that people should go to church so that they can get a financial reward, an economic reward? No. I'm leveraging a reality that when people connect together, they desire to see each other succeed. That's just, humans are relational by nature. And so if somebody doesn't have a job, a church is a great place to find people who are willing to hire people that need jobs. That's what I'm saying. That's just a simple economic equation that works 90% of the time. So that's one thing. And I'm willing to bet you start going to church today, this Sunday, you start going to church, the Holy Spirit's going to do his work, and the more important outcome that's going to change a lot of other things about your heart and your outlook on life will solve itself because you're in the right environment for that to occur. Next thing is really important, and that's, don't worry about dating. Don't worry about relationships. It's something that people carry as an anxiety in them of that I'm so old now, or I'm past my golden years, which I don't even know what that means. Biological clock starts ticking, which men do also have. And it's very discouraging to think that you assume, even it's like high school we never really graduate out of, and you assume everyone's constantly having all this sex and they have these beautiful relationships, that you're the only one that's excluded from all of that. And it's a lie. In some ways, I don't really understand where this delusion comes from, even though being a youth pastor and stuff, I have pretty good ideas. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of people are dissatisfied with their daily life. You're not alone in that. But it's better to be, this is something I used to tell teenagers all the time, it's better to feel lonely by yourself than it is to feel lonely in a relationship. It just is, because feeling lonely when you're alone is kind of a one-to-one. It's just simple math. Feeling lonely in a loveless relationship is devastating. It's better to just feel lonely. And quite frankly, in the same way that people often think they're hungry even though they're actually dehydrated, they actually need water, but they eat instead, and that results in bad health outcomes. A lot of people think they need a romantic relationship for community, and they don't. Remember my first statement, go to church. The thing that most men need is not romantic companionship from a female. The thing they need is a community of men that can encourage them. And there's a lot of places that used to come from in society that has been lost. Church is one of those things that there's an opportunity that churches are just not capitalizing on about that. But the reality is, the thing you really are craving is brotherhood. And that's something that often can kind of come from like a career. Like you got your work buddies, that's a whole thing. But the thing is, that's one of the things that is one of the most valuable attributes added by being on a sports team as well. Everyone's collectively striving for the same goal. The thing that you're probably craving is not romance, it's brotherhood. So go to church, and guess what? You'll find it. You need mentors. You need people that are older than you that can say, it's okay. It's okay. You're going to be all right. And you need younger men as well that you can then repeat that to them. Because sometimes you need to say it to others in order to believe it yourself. That's what you need. And you need peers, people your same age, to just say, I get it. That I'm going through that too. And church is a great place to find all those things. So stop blaming, thinking that it's someone else's fault, because it's not. Go to church, get community, get a job, and just work. And a lot of these things will solve themselves.